Hello and welcome back to AC's Make and Repair. Glad you could join us on the channel today. Welcome along. Well, before us we have a picture of a small light duty router table. It's actually just a thin piece of plywood with a small plunge router bolted to it using the original mounting screw holes in the router base. You can incorporate a little fence at the back. This one is not fixed there at all. You can see it's just loose, but you can hinge it from one end, similar to the fence that I used on the drill press table, and works quite effectively. For many years I used just a simple 3/4 inch piece of ply with a heavy old 3 horsepower router, and I used it as a small shaper. So today I'm going to show you how I made this. So in the footage you see me cutting down a second-hand piece of what I believe was old marine ply. It's quite dense and quite strong. It's only 10 millimeters thick. So just trim up the edges here, and then I'll dock the ends as well. I just cut this to suit the offcut that I had. It was roughly 400 millimeters by about 500 roughly. It had some sort of old varnish on it. It was a bit sort of grotty on the outside. So I just give it a light sand, just clean it up. You'll see every now and then you'll see a little bit of brown stuff showing through. That's the original colour underneath. Here you see me just checking the board for square, and also to make sure it's not twisted or warped in any way. At some time or other I might want to put a little sled or something on there. Just want to make sure it's true enough for that in the future. So here's a little plunge router that I'm going to use. I undid the 4 mounting bolts for the base. So that little thin piece of plastic that goes on the base of these routers, I unscrew that. I'm going to use that as a template. Now if you use one as a template, be careful, because the screw spacing on a lot of these bases is not equal. I've been caught out a couple of times with this, and I actually got caught out again today. I put it up the way I thought it was going to be, and then I realised I'd actually marked it the wrong way, and the holes didn't line up, so I had to flip it upside down the board to use it. It wasn't a big problem though. So here I'm centralising it on the board, and I put it about 2/3 back towards the back of the board too. So here I use the base to guide the drill to get the exact hole spacings and markings. I'm not going to use the little countersunk bolts that held the plastic base on because the plywood's thicker. I've got to use some little pan head bolts. And to recess the head of those bolts, I use a brad point bit just to recess them down into the top of the plywood. Now it's time to mount the router. I put one little bolt in one corner and then fit the other bolts as I line up the little holes and screw them in firmly. As you can see, the heads are flush. Now I fit a little 1/8 router bit in and I plunge it through to mark the dead centre of the router spindle. So here I use a 30mm Forstner bit to drill dead centre on that pilot hole, and that allows me to use up to 25mm or 1" bit through this hole in the tabletop. Because it's only light duty, I won't be using large bits. The biggest bit I will be using is probably a chamfering bit, and that would be probably 1" at the base anyhow. I just screwed mine to my assembly bench. You could alternatively clamp it, use a block of wood on the base of it and put in your vise to hold it firmly. Even a bench holdfast would do it perfectly too. So here it is. You can use this little tabletop at this point in time. I've put a little round over bit in there, and I'll show you how you can use it to do small pieces. Like I said, you'd never use a router freehand to profile any of these small pieces, as it'd be too dangerous. And this works really good for doing small little pieces like this. You don't want a big machine to do this. You don't want to use a spindle mold or a shaper to do this, but this is actually ideal. You can use safety push sticks if you want. Sometimes I find we rely on this sort of stuff and it can be, it can be annoying and get in the road at times. So that has its own problems safety wise too. Here I do the end of this board. Now you'd never do this just with a handheld router, but on this application you can do this quite good. So this is a little Makita trimmer. These are a square base. You can mount these very easily, and even the battery ones, you can mount them very easily too. And are quite a good a little router to set up in a little table like this. So here we have a little timber fence that I've made up with a checked out hole for a bit to go up in. Ideal for rebates, etc. You can swing it, pivot at one end, or you could slide it parallel and clamp it. I haven't put a bolt through this one yet, but ideal as a little fence. There's many applications for a little router table like this. Rounding over is just one of the things. Straight rebates when you use a fence. Slots when you use a fence. You can use it for slotting slots for bolts, etc. You can do, if you had a cross sled, you could use for doing sliding dovetails, and so much more. There's a lot of things you can do with a little table like this. Quite handy for fiddly stuff. Like I said, you can mount this fence at one end as a pivot, like that, or even run it parallel backwards and forwards with a sled type of fence. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when other videos too do come on. Appreciate you watching. Please share me with your friends, and bye for now.